The place card was made of imported ivory silk paper. The letters were written in pure gold ink. It sat next to a crystal wine glass that cost more than my first car. I picked it up. My hands were shaking. Right beneath the golden crest of the Whitmore family, my real name was erased. Instead, it read 2 words: the Freeloader. For one full second, the grand ballroom of the Fairmont Hotel in downtown Toronto went completely silent. Then, the laughter started. It was not shocked, nervous laughter. It was comfortable, arrogant laughter. The kind of sound wealthy people make when they think cruelty is just a private joke. My name is Hannah. I am 36 years old. When other women my age were going to college, traveling the world, and falling in love, I was freezing at bus stops in Scarborough at 2 in the morning. Our parents died when we were young. I had a little brother named Jake. He was brilliant. He was my entire world. I worked 3 exhaustive jobs. I scrubbed hospital floors. I waited tables. I skipped meals so Jake could eat. I pawned the only silver necklace our dead mother left us just to buy his high school textbooks. I spent my entire youth making sure my little brother would never know how incredibly cruel poverty could be. I built him a future with my bare, blistered hands. He graduated from McGill University. He fell in love with Emily. Emily was kind, but she came from a different universe. Emily was the daughter of Mark Whitmore. Mark was a billionaire. He was a ruthless king of Bay Street. He was a man who bought companies, manipulated politicians, and ruined lives before he even finished his morning coffee. I did not come to this wedding expecting a crown. I wore the best discount dress I could afford. I walked into that reception full of pride. I thought I was there to celebrate the boy I raised. I was wrong. I was there to be the evening entertainment. My fingers turned to absolute ice holding that gold place card. I wanted to stand up and walk out into the freezing snow. But before I could move, a hand grabbed my wrist. It was Jake. He stood up. His chair scraped violently against the polished marble floor. The string quartet stopped playing immediately. The entire room held its breath. Jake looked directly at the head table. He looked right at the billionaire. Mark Whitmore slowly stood up. He adjusted his custom-tailored suit. He looked at Jake like a stray dog that had misbehaved on an expensive rug. "Jake," Mark said. His voice was smooth, loud, and deeply amused. "Sit down before you embarrass my daughter. It was just a joke. Surely your uneducated sister is used to surviving worse things than a simple joke." Patricia, Mark's wife, adjusted her heavy pearl necklace. She whispered loudly enough for the front tables to hear. "This is exactly why social class matters. They have no manners." Jake stepped in front of me. He shielded me from the laughing room. "Say one more word about my sister," Jake said. His voice was dangerously calm. "And I promise you, this wedding is over." Mark Whitmore stopped smiling. Men like him only tolerate rebellion when it is quiet and obedient. Public defiance was an unforgivable crime. "Young man," Mark sneered, his voice dropping an octave, "everything you have is because my family opened doors for you. That woman hiding behind you did not build you. She held you back. She's a parasite." Jake gripped my hand tighter. "My sister fed me before she fed herself. She worked night shifts so I could study. If you think that makes her a freeloader, your soul is completely rotten." Mark did not yell. Billionaires do not yell. They execute. He simply picked up his phone. He kept his cold, dead eyes locked on my brother. "Charles," Mark said into the phone, "cancel the junior analyst offer for Carter at the Bay Street firm. Tell the board that if they hire him, my investment capital is gone." Emily, the bride, gasped in horror. "Dad, stop!" Mark ignored his own daughter. He spoke into the phone again. "Also, call the city council. Cancel the foundation grant for the Toronto Community Literacy Project, the one run by the sister. Withdraw the public funds immediately." My blood froze. Nobody in that room knew about my literacy project. For 2 grueling years, I worked late into the night to build a safe center for poor kids in our neighborhood. Kids who grew up hungry, just like Jake and me. I needed that government grant to open the doors next month. Mark knew. He had hired private investigators to research my only dream, just so he could crush it in front of a live audience. "Enjoy your little moral victory," Mark whispered across the room. "By tomorrow morning, you will learn that poor people do not get to dictate the rules." "You are a monster," Emily cried. She looked at her father in absolute disgust. She grabbed the skirt of her expensive designer wedding gown. She did not hesitate. She walked down from the head table, took Jake by the hand, and looked at me. "Let us go." We walked out of the ballroom together. We walked out into the freezing Toronto snow. Emily's white dress was ruined by the slush. The wedding died right there. But the war had just begun. The next morning, the reality of his power hit us. The Bay Street job offer was officially revoked. My community grant was denied by the city council. Mark Whitmore had destroyed my brother's career and my life's work in a single night. Emily sat at my cheap kitchen table. She was still wearing her ruined wedding dress. She slid her phone toward me. "My cousin secretly recorded this after we walked out last night," Emily whispered. I pressed play. The video was dark. It was taken inside a private VIP club. Mark was drinking expensive whiskey with 3 other billionaires. "The sister is a pathetic martyr," Mark's voice echoed from the speaker. "Once my daughter is legally bound to the boy, I will cut his financial leash. Poor people always make their sacrifices sound holy. It is just failure dressed up as storytelling. I own the judges. I own the press. They are insects." Jake slammed his fist on my table. "I'm posting this online right now. Let the whole country see him." "No," I said quietly. My mind was suddenly crystal clear. If we post a blurry video now, Mark will hire a massive crisis management team. He will say it was a private conversation taken out of context. He will spin the narrative. He will survive. I spent the next 48 hours digging into Mark's public financial filings. I found his massive weakness. He was trying to close a $2 billion commercial real estate deal in Vancouver. His partners were extremely conservative foreign investors. They hated public scandals. Mark only survived by keeping his cruelty strictly private and his public image absolutely spotless. "We do not post the video," I told Emily and Jake. "We make him confess to our faces first. We ask for a peace treaty. We go to his mansion. When he refuses, when he threatens us in his own home, we record it in high definition. We do not just expose his words. We expose his entire soul." I opened my drawer. I took out a small military-grade audio recorder. I taped it under my thick winter coat. I was completely done playing the victim. It was time to play the predator. 3 days later, we stood inside Mark Whitmore's massive mansion in the Bridle Path neighborhood. The gates locked heavily behind us. The floors were imported marble. The air was suffocatingly cold. Mark sat in his massive leather armchair. His corporate lawyers stood in the corner. He looked at us like we were beggars asking for spare change. I placed my purse on the glass table. The hidden recorder under my coat was already capturing every single breath. 20 minutes before we arrived, I had set up an automated email server on my laptop at home. "Let us make this fast," Mark sneered. "If you are here to beg for the job and the charity grant, the answer is absolutely no." Emily stepped forward. "Dad, I am giving you one final chance. Apologize to Hannah. Fix the funding you broke. Or you will lose your daughter forever." Mark laughed. It was a harsh, ugly, guttural sound. "Lose you to what? To a boy who cannot afford to buy you dinner? I protected you. I crushed them because people like them need to know their exact place in the world. They drag their poverty into our reality and expect respect." Mark leaned forward. His eyes were full of absolute venom. "I ruined her little charity to prove a point," he boasted. He felt like an untouchable god in that room. "I own the city council members. I own the financial firms. You have nothing. Now, take your poor sister and get out of my house before I have you arrested for trespassing." I did not blink. I did not cry. I just smiled. "You are right, Mark," I said quietly. "You own the city. You own the politicians. But the internet is completely free. I pulled out my phone. What are you doing? Mark demanded, standing up. I just sent an audio file, I replied smoothly. And a video from your VIP club, to the Toronto Star, to the Globe and Mail, to your board of directors, and to every single foreign investor involved in your massive Vancouver project. Mark dropped his crystal glass of scotch. It shattered completely on the marble floor. His lawyer lunged forward, but it was too late. The upload was finished. You think a recording will hurt me? Mark roared. His face turned bright red. No, I whispered. The recording will just embarrass you. The foreign investors pulling their $2 billion out of your company in about 5 minutes. That will kill you. We turned around and walked out of the mansion. He was screaming behind us. Emily did not look back. By 6 o'clock the next morning, the audio was everywhere. It was the #1 trend in the entire country. A billionaire calling homeless children insects. A billionaire explicitly admitting to bribing city council members to shut down a charity. The public reaction was catastrophic. At 9 in the morning, the Vancouver investors officially pulled out of the deal. The stock of his company crashed by 40% in 3 hours. At noon, the provincial government announced a full criminal investigation into Mark Whitmore for political corruption and bribery. By Friday evening, his board of directors forced him to resign in absolute disgrace. They stripped him of his shares. His billion-dollar empire collapsed in exactly 5 days. Emily officially filed for a clean break from her toxic family trust. She and Jake started fresh. Jake got a much better job offer from a rival firm that respected loyalty and talent. And the Youth Literacy Project? The public outrage turned into massive public support. A crowdfunding campaign started online. Within 48 hours, we raised $3 million, 10 times more than the original government grant. 6 months later, the snow was finally melting. Someone knocked on the door of my small apartment. I opened it. It was Mark Whitmore. He wore a cheap, faded coat. He looked 10 years older. He had lost his company. He lost his reputation. He lost his daughter. The federal bank was foreclosing on his massive mansion. Hannah, he whispered. His voice was completely broken. Please, I have absolutely nothing left. Tell the press to stop. Tell them I apologize to you. I looked at this man. I felt no anger. I felt no pity. I felt absolutely nothing. You told me that people like you decide if people like me get to breathe, I said smoothly. So hold your breath. I closed the door in his face, and I locked the deadbolt. Never push a person who has survived the freezing cold. We know exactly how to survive the winter, but you will freeze to death. Do you think Mark deserved to lose his entire empire, or did I go too far? Let me know in the comments. And if you love watching arrogant billionaires get completely destroyed, hit the subscribe button. I have plenty more revenge stories to tell.